Located at the crossroads of Eastern Europe and Western Asia, Armenia sits in the heart of the Caucasus. On a territory of about 30,000 square kilometers, the country borders Turkey to the west, Azerbaijan to the east, Georgia to the north, and Iran to the south. It's a small state with just over 3 million people but a wide diaspora. Many Armenians work abroad and support families with remittances that help keep the local economy moving. This detail already reveals a key point about Armenian reality: its reliance on outside forces to stay in motion. Before we go on, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. That way, YouTube knows this content matters and shares it with more people. Without access to the sea, logistics are a constant challenge. Trade has to cross roads and skies, mostly through corridors passing through Georgia and Iran. Tense relations with Turkey and Azerbaijan add obstacles, shutting doors that could expand markets and cooperation. On this complex chessboard, every open route counts, and every closed border weighs heavily. At the center of it all is Yerevan. The capital concentrates government, business, and the main airport. It's the country's entry point and the stage where decisions and deals come together. Beyond it, villages and smaller towns emerge, where life moves slower, and landscapes preserve traditions and community ties. To understand how Armenia got here, you need to look at its recent history. After the Bolshevik Revolution, the country was brought into Russia's orbit, and in 1922, joined Georgia and Azerbaijan to form the Transcaucasian Socialist Federative Soviet Republic. The Soviet period brought some economic and infrastructure stability, but also political repression. Under Stalin, the church was persecuted and public life was tightly controlled. It's at this crossroads of tough geography and turbulent past that Armenia shapes its choices today, seeking a way forward amid half-open doors and heavy memories. After Stalin's death in 1953, pressure on Armenian society eased. Religious life came back, the church was restored, and in 1967 Yerevan built the memorial to the victims of the Armenian genocide, bringing memory back to the center of public life. Decades later, with the collapse of the Soviet Union, Armenia declared independence in 1991. The new chapter came with tough transitions: a fragile economy, conflict with Azerbaijan, and uncertainty shaping daily life. The blockade imposed by Turkey and Azerbaijan tightened the squeeze, raising prices and limiting routes. In 1988, the earth shook hard. A devastating earthquake hit the country, killing around 23,000 people, a scar still present in conversations and memorial rituals. Today, the country moves forward with moderate dependence, trying to balance urgent needs with long-term plans. In Yerevan, the city's pulse mixes sobriety and restlessness. Among men, the strain is more visible. Economic and political pressures seem to weigh on shoulders and quick steps. Women, on the other hand, fill streets and cafes with a lively presence, strolling through squares, taking photos, keeping up with style, and naturally blending tradition with modernity. There are also faces that arrived recently. Because of recent tensions in Russia and Ukraine, some of the people you see on the streets are temporary migrants. Not all are permanent residents, giving the city an air of transition, waiting, and reinvention. Looking closely at certain features in some women, you'll notice hints of Slavic heritage pointing to a link with Russia. That ties into a trend among Armenian men, strengthened by waves of Russian migration, of admiring Russian and Ukrainian women, something that shapes personal preferences and casual conversations. Armenian is the main language, but Russian and English show up often in shops, offices, and universities, creating a multilingual environment. Population studies show Armenians are genetically closer to other Caucasus groups than to Slavs. Generally, darker hair and skin tones repeat across the region, connecting Armenia, Georgia, and Azerbaijan. Before we go on, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. That way, YouTube knows this content matters and shares it with more people. Day-to-day life is diverse. Executives heading to work, students with backpacks, elderly people in public squares. Among men, thick dark hair and beards are common. Among women, dark hair and tanned skin show up frequently. In business, many Armenians seek opportunities in Russia and Europe, a response to a limited local market and a shortage of skilled jobs. There's also a strong family dynamic. Many women stay professionally active, but after motherhood often shift focus to home and raising children. Having kids holds a central place in local culture. With a population of about 3 million, each birth is seen as part of a collective effort to continue the nation. Demographic imbalance. There are about 200,000 more women than men. And young people leaving for Europe add pressure to the topic. This helps explain choices, expectations, and conversations shaping streets, homes, and plans for the near future. In Yerevan, everyday life shows contrasts that catch the eye. Among busy cafes and open squares, many men turn to sports betting to boost income, a sign of a local economy with few fast growth paths. Streets are surprisingly clean, with a mix of modest cars and luxury vehicles reflecting different economic realities. In the center, one detail stands out. Pedestrians often cross outside the crosswalk without much consequence, a habit baked into the city's rhythm. Summer comes hot and dry, and public fountains become stopping points. Tourists drink, snap photos, and move on. For getting around, the metro works well. Around its busiest stations, stalls pop up selling used books, trinkets, and Soviet-era items that quietly tell stories. The Soviet legacy also shows up in sculptures and structures still in use, holding strong for over 3 decades. Weekends bring life to squares. Parks and cafes fill up, and service is generally friendly. Waiters don't shy away from chatting or taking photos with customers. But there's a delicate backdrop. Domestic politics and relations with Turkey and Azerbaijan remain sensitive topics, especially in casual talk. People usually avoid those debates. Interactions with visitors from those countries tend to be reserved. Against this backdrop, the city keeps blending past and present, routine and hope, with every corner offering something new to notice. Before we go on, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. That way, YouTube knows this content matters and shares it with more people. The first thing that stands out in Yerevan is how open the city feels. A quick hello from the sidewalk, or even from inside a car, turns into a smile and small talk. Following the flow, you reach Republic Square, the social heart of the capital. Shows, meetups, and celebrations blend with daily comings and goings. On the streets, public transport still wears the face of the old white van, a familiar friend to locals, zipping through neighborhoods and cutting distances short. Police presence is constant. Military-style uniforms stand on corners and avenues, keeping order. On tense days when protests against the government break out, surveillance ramps up and the city moves cautiously. Climb up a few viewpoints and the scene widens. The outline of Mount Ararat, just across the Turkish border, dominates the horizon and quietly watches over Armenian life. From above, the urban layout feels modest. Few tall buildings, many simple structures. For renters, expectations need adjusting. Luxury is rare, comfort depends on renovations, and facades often keep muted tones. A 2-bedroom apartment runs about $500 a month, a heavy price for local incomes. On the streets, the car scene tells stories. Old Mercedes and Russian models make up most traffic. Wealthier drivers opt for newer German cars. The economy still depends on imports and has limited domestic production. To support a family of 4, the minimum monthly budget is around $1,000. Below that, things get tight. It's not uncommon to see elderly people working when ideally they'd be retired, another sign of the city's realities and pace. The Armenian dram is the currency driving daily life. With a minimum wage around 55,000 drams, roughly 125 euros, most people have to budget carefully. Rent for a local runs between $300 and $400 a month, well below Europe, much of the Middle East, the Americas, and even many Balkan countries. But lower costs don't mean comfort. They reflect very low incomes, keeping many, including seniors, in the workforce just to cover basics. When it comes to production, winemaking holds a central role. Armenian wine isn't just tradition, it's a proud presence at home and in top restaurants where locals celebrate its quality. And once you leave Yerevan, another side of the country appears. Modern life slows down and daily rhythms become more traditional, especially in rural areas. There, wide stretches of land keep a simplicity passed down through generations. The mountains shaping the landscape feel timeless. Infrastructure follows the same pace. Old roads, decades-old buildings, cars easily 20 years in use. Still, that's exactly what draws many visitors. They leave the capital searching for less obvious routes, scattered villages, and views that tell the country's story without hurry. An invitation to explore what Armenia holds beyond the tourist map. Before we go on, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. That way YouTube knows this content matters and shares it with more people. Armenia fits on a map but reveals itself on the horizon. Right past the border, the mountains open like a silent stage where your gaze runs far and time slows down. Here, village life sets the pace. In the yard, neighbors stretch lavish dough with precise moves and, in an almost choreographed sequence, slide the bread into underground ovens. The smell of baked wheat signals more than a meal. It signals gathering. Helping out isn't an event here, it's a habit. Today is bread, tomorrow the harvest, the next day fixing someone's fence, always with more hands than the task requires. The houses, often unpainted, leave brick and stone bare, as if not needing to hide their layers. Next to them, gardens and orchards provide the basics: fruits, vegetables, herbs. People eat what they grow, raise what they consume, and measure wealth by full pantries ready for winter. Farming and livestock keep tables full, even when cash is tight. This simple life isn't staged. It's the backbone of a country that's learned to do a lot with little. For travelers, the cultural mosaic is magnetic. Ancient monasteries, living traditions, stories carved in stone. But for those thinking of settling long-term, the picture changes. Internal issues and tensions with neighbors weigh on daily choices and can limit access to services and opportunities. Between the beauty of the journey and the demands of a lifetime, Armenia asks for a careful eye and invites you to go further to understand how balance holds in everyday life. Thanks for staying with us until the end. If this trip through Armenia touched you somehow, hit the like button, comment on what stood out to you most, and tell us what you want to see in the next episode. Subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss the stories ahead. There's a lot of great stuff coming. Share this video with anyone who loves travel, culture, and a simple life built hand in hand. See you in the next one.